The teller. The teller. The teller.
It's another day. Left jab, right jab. This is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts. Undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim? Looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting. If you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go. I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller. The teller. The teller.
UFC Fight Night, Michelle Waterson taking on Angela Overkill Hill. We got a women's main event bout taking place this upcoming Saturday, which it's all good, right? Both these girls bring it, so I'm cool with it. I think it should be a pretty entertaining matchup. Other than that, it's pretty cool. We got 3 guys fighting on this card that are MMA Live discussion veterans, guys that we have recently spoken with, so pretty excited to see all those guys throw down. Taking a look over the card real quick, and the guys I'm talking about are Khama Worthy. We got Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell was just on the show this past Thursday, and then we also had Matt Frevola on not too long ago as well. So it's pretty cool, man. If you guys haven't checked out those interviews, I highly recommend that you do leading up to Saturday, because it really gives you some insight into the mindset that these guys have going into these fights. Not the biggest of names on these cards, but you know what? Great matchups, guys that actually deliver, guys that really perform. So you're not getting those big superstar type of names, but these are all very, very entertaining fighters, man, that are going to be throwing down Saturday. So we're going to be getting into this card, taking a look back at last week. Got to touch upon Alistair Overeem. He looked amazing in that fight. Obviously, it was the biggest play for me. For those of you guys that follow me on Instagram, went 2 for 2 on my plays. Alistair Overeem was my biggest play of the night, 5-unit play on the Reem. I thought that play was such a solid play that you guys all should have been targeting. I get it. Sakai's a tough customer, but Overeem is just such a crafty veteran that's been around the block for so long, and you have to go with the Reem there, especially when you're grabbing him like I did initially at minus 150, and then especially when you're grabbing him on the live line at minus 120. Minus 120 when, in my opinion, he was clearly taking that fight over, or just dominating that fight from the beginning. I maybe thought he lost one round, if that. I thought he would pretty much thought he won every round. So I get it. The fights, some of those rounds were a little bit close. Sakai was bringing the heat, but Overeem was shelled up, man. He blocked. He was blocking those strikes in a very intelligent manner. He knew what he was doing. He was wearing Sakai out, and then you saw him start mixing in the grappling. I just thought Overeem looked really good in that fight. My other play on the night was Ovince St. Preux. The dog, had to take the dog out for a quick walk, let him take a leak, and that's another play that I loved, and I would have took every single time. Ovince St. Preux was a guy that tested positive for COVID not too long ago. People that I work with know I was already targeting this play. They were nervous that I was sticking with it after he tested positive, but I was not worried in the least bit. OSP was just a bigger fighter. This guy has so much more octagon experience. This guy's a better grappler, better striker, and the line was way off. So I grabbed him at plus 115, plus 105. I had some good money on OSP. So overall, it was a very, very profitable night. I did have another play on this card. That fight got scrapped. As you know, a lot of these fights got scrapped. Other than that, I'll touch upon some other fights here. Michelle Pereira is really looking to be the real deal at this point. And Zalim is not even nearly as close to being as solid of a fighter as I initially thought that he was. I thought he actually had some good hands, and he was a tough dude. And he looked slow and sloppy in there. Andre Muniz, I was on that, the dog right there. Not an official play or anything, but put some money in my pocket on that fight. And Andre Muniz should have been the favorite in that position. That he has such nasty BJJ. Fabinski is a guy that really just dives in for takedowns and tries to control you, and I knew he would be in danger in that fight. Brian Kelleher, you guys know the teller's nemesis. Brian Kelleher goes out there and takes out this guy, Ray Rodriguez. Ray Rodriguez was the third opponent he was matched up with, took the fight on a day's notice. The guy stuck his neck in Kelleher's arm. I guess he didn't read the manual. You're not supposed to do that against Kelleher. And he was actually looking pretty good on the feet up until that point too, for as quick as the fight lasted. Vivian Araújo looked good in that fight, man. Montana De La Rosa I don't know what she was thinking in there. I guess she's been working on her striking, but not on the level of Vivian. And then Hunter Azor, used his wrestling to control Cole Smith and win 2 of the 3 rounds there. So it was a solid night, man. Another profitable night for the teller. That's what it's all about. And now we move over to this card. Before we get into this card, I do want to point out that a week from this upcoming Saturday, a week from this card, we got Colby Chaos Covington taking on Tyrone Woodley, which is going to be a spectacular fight. If Woodley does show up, I don't know, man. I just have this feeling that he ain't going to make it to the fight. Maybe I'm wrong, though. I mean, Woodley seems like he's rejuvenated and he's ready to go. He's been getting in some training with Gamebred, Jorge Masvidal. So maybe he's ready to go. I don't know, man. I think that this is such a tough matchup for him. And we'll, the full breakdown video will all be coming out to you guys relatively soon. But I'm just super pumped for that fight. Other than that, Nick Diaz is talking about making a return to the UFC. Making a return back to the mixed martial arts game. Super excited for that. Overeem fired back at Derek Lewis. So you guys probably saw Derek Lewis was poking shots at the Reem over there on Twitter, saying he lost every round. 10-8 round, even when he actually won. It was pretty funny. So, Overeem says, you better watch your, what, man. Curtis Blades is going to destroy him. And then Overeem says he'll be waiting to do it after that. So, some pretty entertaining stuff. Diego Sanchez is still delusional, talking about his defensive strategy, how it worked against Pereira. Austin Vanderford had to pull out, a little disappointed at that. Pereira reveals why he slapped Amadayev. So, just some things we're talking about over here. Cody's going at it. And Ricardos is officially retiring from MMA. And now you know what time it is. It's time to talk about the fights that are taking place this upcoming weekend. Michelle Waterson taking on Angela Hill. A nice matchup there. And we're going to start with the first fight of the card. Like I said, man, a guy that's been on the show, man, Khama Worthy was a really cool dude. And this is a really exciting matchup for him here. Khama Worthy taking on Ottman Azatar. Khama Worthy is a guy that's been constantly coming into the octagon as a big underdog, and he keeps upsetting everybody, pulling off the major upsets. And I think at this point, that you ain't going to see much more of that. People are going to start to respect what Khama brings to the table, and what he brings is some excellent takedown defense, some underrated grappling, and dangerous striking. That's what Khama Worthy brings to the table. So, 33 years old, he's in his prime already. I mean, he ain't going to get much better at this point. He's a big believer in his gym. He likes the guys that he's able to train with over there. Coming off 2 finishes against Violent Bob Rospania and Devontae Smith, and has been putting in work for quite a while, man. We're talking about a 7-fight win streak. Last loss was to Kyle Nelson. We'll be talking about him a little bit later, but you guys get it, man. Khama Worthy is a dangerous fighter, and his opponent is also a dangerous fighter. You take a look at his opponent here, man. This is his opponent, man, putting what's his name? Pikachu. What the heck was this guy? Pac-Man, whatever. This guy got knocked out left and right, man. He also got knocked out by Mark Diakese. But nevertheless, I mean, it was a nice debut for the guy, man. He went in there and slept him as well. We got 2 dangerous strikers matching up. Ottman Azatar. Take a look at him. 12-0. The Moroccan fighter, they call him the Bulldozer. This guy is exciting on the feet, man. This guy really brings it on the feet. You see him just knocking dudes out left and right. And this is how I see this fight playing out. I see this fight playing out on the feet. So maybe whoever you edge being the better striker, I really think that these guys are both going to just have a mutual understanding that they're throwing down on the feet. And I don't know, man. Khama's been looking nasty on the feet. I'm going to edge Khama. I'm going to take my boy Khama here. But this guy, Ottman, is a dangerous fighter. So... don't forget about that. And you see the boy Khama over here, man, chilling with the teller, chatting it up on MMA Live Discussion. And like I said, Khama Worthy is a really, really cool dude. If you guys didn't get a chance to check that out, man, super down-to-earth guy. And I am sipping on some green tea here, so I'll make sure I move away. Don't want to hurt your guys' ears. Hope you guys didn't hear that ripple over there. I know someone in particular is always commenting and it gets them upset, so I'll work on that. But back to Khama. Khama is the truth here, and I'm taking him to win this fight. Although again, Ottman is a dangerous fighter as well. So this fight, it's gonna be a good matchup here. Take a look at the line. Khama Worthy is a slight favorite, and Ottman is coming in right around plus 115. And I'll take my boy Khama there, man. Shout out to Khama Worthy, man, who took out Violent Bob Ross. Speaking of Violent Bob Ross, one of my best friends, he's a UPS driver, a delivery driver here in South Florida. He just saw Violent Bob Ross doing a little jog on the side of the road down here in South Florida. Funny, so maybe I'll bump into him. I seen him over at a bare knuckle fighting event not too long ago too, but he's getting it in. He's still doing his little training. But Khama Worthy handled him, man. Got that guillotine in the third round. I'm gonna take Khama again here. If anything, I'd say I'll say if the fight does, if the fight does touch the mat somehow, I'm gonna edge Khama there with the grappling as well. So that's something maybe you want to look into if the fight does. But again, you guys heard what I had to say about it. I think this fight takes place on the feet, but I'll edge Khama in regards to the grappling. In the next fight, Sabina Mazo taking on Justine Kish. Sabina Mazo with the 5-inch reach, 2-inch height advantage, and I'm a big fan of this girl, Sabina Mazo. Only 23 years old. She's been looking good. This girl can strike. She's well-rounded, but she's a tough chick. She's one of those girls that just you don't really have to worry about her in the sense if you have money on her, she's going to show up. If she gets punched in the face, man, she's going to come back and she's going to throw some strikes back. She's not one of those girls that like you're going to see with Montana De La Rosa, who's backpedaling the entire fight. Sabina Mazo is going to press forward and she's going to look to engage and make it a fight. So if you punch her, she's coming back, and you gotta like girls like that, man. Those tough type of chicks. Sabina Mazo has good grappling as well. Justine Kish, 32 years old, has only has one more professional fight than Sabina, but I do believe she's been in the game a lot longer. And Kish is a tough chick. She's a strong grappler. Sabina Mazo, we take a look at her here. Coming off that tough split decision victory over J.J. Aldrich. J.J. Aldrich is a very good boxer, and Sabina was able to take control of that fight on the feet. Really had to like what you saw from Sabina as far as striking goes in that match. And see Sabina continuously working on the striking. I mean, the chick is she's a tough fighter, man. I like this chick here. Just getting it in, man. And then what we got over here? So yeah, Justine Kish. We'll talk about Kish here for a second. Kish is a girl. Like I said, she's a little bit older. She's a very muscular female fighter, man. She's very strong. She likes to get a hold of you. She likes to press you against the cage. She'll look for takedowns. She does have power in her hands too. Not saying she's gonna go out there and sleep you or nothing like that, but she does have power. I mean, she throws bombs. Take a look at what Kish has been doing. Coming off that victory against Lucy Padilova, who's a pretty talented fighter. Before that, though, loses 2 fights to Ji Young Kim and Felice Herrig. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about her? I mean, she has some nice victories here. Nina Ansaroff, Ashley Yoder, Randa Marcos. I just think that the younger fighter Sabina is the way to go here. I see her winning this fight, and I get it because I get why the line is so big. I mean, minus 245 makes perfect sense. I just think that she's going to show up for this fight. She's so young too. You're going to see major strides in the game. I always say that, and you're really going to see it with a girl like this. I mean, this girl is a piece of Play-Doh. So her coaches are going to be molding her, and she's going to be better than ever. And when's the last time she stepped into the cage? We'll take a look real quick. Coming off that solid victory she had, that was back in the beginning of the year. So we're talking about 9 months since that J.J. Aldrich fight. And yeah, that was the McGregor-Cerrone fight back when life was a little different, right? At the beginning of the year. But Sabina is definitely the pick here. All right, and the next fight, like I said, man, a bunch of fighters that have been on MMA Live Discussion. Shout out to Matt Frevola. Matt Frevola, man, fighting out of Tampa. Really cool dude. A guy we talked about him coming back on the show, so maybe we'll get a victory interview. Just to touch upon MMA Live Discussion too, man. I got 6 fighters lined up, man. Solid fighters that are going to make for great shows. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll even be doing 2 fighters a show. Also, I wasn't able to do the fight companion. I had some personal things going on. Hopefully, they'll all be cleared up by this Thursday, so the show doesn't get interrupted. Otherwise, it'll be the next Thursday. I got some family business going on. So some unfortunate things going on that I gotta attend to. And But other than that, Matt Frevola, man, we'll get him on the schedule as well down the line after he pulls off a victory here, hopefully, because I'm rooting for him. And I'll let you guys know right now I'm picking him. Roosevelt Roberts is a very tough customer as well. This isn't an easy fight. Roosevelt's a very rangy fighter. He's coming in, with a good height advantage, only a 2-inch reach advantage. It says he's 6'2", but I got a picture of him here. I'm just about 6 foot, and it looks about 2 inches taller than me. I wouldn't be surprised if he's more about 6'2.5", 6'3". Roosevelt Roberts, man, the Predator is very big for the weight division, and very dangerous striker. He made a horrible mistake in his last fight, going to the mat with a guy in Jim Miller, who was just such a crafty veteran. It was a rookie mistake from Roosevelt, and you're going to see those types of things happen with a guy like that when he's in there with a guy like Jim Miller, I guess. Because if he would have just let that fight take place a little bit longer, let them get a little bit sweaty, I do think that he could have hurt Jim in the later rounds. But Jim's still looking good, so shout out to Jim Miller too. Before that, he had the 2 victories. This Yokolev fight was close. The Vince Pichel fight. Speaking of Vince Pichel, he's one of the fighters that have confirmed to come on the show. So you'll be seeing Vince Pichel join us too, who was coming off a very big victory over Jim Miller. But the Vince Pichel fight, that was a fight where Vince was able to get takedowns and control him. Keep an eye on that because Matt Frevola has some tough wrestling. Matt Frevola, this is a guy that wrestled in college. He's a very strong guy, has good wrestling and good jiu-jitsu credentials too. He'll wrap up a choke while he's down on the mat with you as well. So coming off a victory against Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena, Jalen Turner, guy that was supposed to fight this past week, and that fight got scrapped. And that fight was maybe a fight that you want to watch some tape on. That was a fight that I did watch some tape on again recently, and maybe you want to look into that fight. Similar fight styles. Jalen Turner, also a good striker, very big and rangy for the weight division, and Frevola was able to use his wrestling. So that's a key fight to look into. And Luis Pena too. Although I thought Luis Pena might have. Maybe should have taken that fight, to be honest. It was very close though, and nevertheless, another victory, against another tall, rangy guy. So he already knows what to do, man. This is the 3rd guy in a row that he's going against like that, and I'm picking Matt Frevola. And like I said, man, Matt Frevola, really cool dude, man. He was chilling out there. He had his mom on the patio. He was telling his mom, "Hey, I'm doing a show right now, man." Really cool dude. And I look forward to chatting with him soon after he has another big victory. That'll be 3 fights in a row for him. I'm pulling for you, Matt, man. The steamroller. Let's steamroll this guy, man. All right. So Matt Frevola is the pick, and now we'll move on to the next fight. We got Bam Bam making his return, huh? Bryan Barberena taking on Anthony Ivy. Remember Anthony Ivy, man? This guy, there's a lot of hype coming in behind Anthony Ivy, and got derailed in his UFC debut against that guy Christian, who knocked him out. As far as how they match up, he's going to come in with a 2-inch height advantage, a 2-inch reach advantage. But that's nothing new for Bryan Barberena in the welterweight division. You know the deal with Bryan Barberena. Bryan is just a tough dude. He can wrestle, he can grapple, he carries power in his hands, man. He's not scared to throw down. You see him getting in some training with a guy like Impa Kasangane, who's a stud, one of our big plays that we had over here in the last couple weeks, and things have been looking great, man. Betting on these main cards. I don't even know. We got to check how many UFC events that have gone down that's profitable in a row over the last month or so. It might have been 3 of the last 4, or I think it was 3 of the last 4, maybe. So things are looking good, man, and we're going to continue that moving forward to this upcoming card, especially towards the end of the year, man. I got some solid plays coming in towards the end of the year. But back to Bryan Barberena, extremely tough customer, getting in training with the best of them. He's always been getting some solid training in. He's bounced around, I believe, but the MMA lab and Jimmo, but the MMA lab is a solid gym that he's been with for a long time as well. So getting some proper training in over there. And I'm a fan of Barberena. Take a look at what Bam Bam's been doing recently. 14-7, coming off a nasty loss to Randy Brown. The Vicente Luque fight, man, he almost stopped Vicente early, and then Vicente came back and finished him. So he looked great in that fight, though. But he is taking a lot of damage now. That's 2 fights in a row. Randy Brown, that was a fight that you wanted to see him go out there and take. I think he was the favorite going into that fight. And then other than that, losing to top level type fighters. Took out Joe Proctor, Jake Ellenberger, Sage Northcutt, Warley Alves. You know, he was a big dog in that fight. And like I said, Barberena has good wrestling skills. He's tough. You know, he's gonna fight for your money. And then you got this guy Anthony Ivy, who's an athletic dude, has a lot of skills that he brings to the table, but is coming off a nasty knockout loss to Christian Aguilera. And if you saw Christian's last fight, you understand how he got knocked out, because that wasn't a fluke. That guy Christian throws heat. And I know Christian just lost his last fight against Sean Brady, who's a stud, but Christian was throwing heat in the beginning of that fight too. But you saw what Sean Brady did. He had a little bit better fighter IQ, man. He was waiting for the fight to kind of slow down a little bit. He was being very cautious, whereas you know, Anthony did not. Anthony did not do that. So we'll see how Anthony bounces back. You take a look at the line here. Bryan Barberena is coming in as a big favorite, man. Minus 270. A little surprised to see the line there. If I'm being honest with you, I do pick Barberena to win the fight, but a little surprised in the line. You know, if Anthony Ivy shows up, you know, he does have some skills, but I think Barberena is going to have the edge as far as toughness, wrestling, and as far as just being comfortable in the octagon. You know, Anthony Ivy has only been in there one time and he got knocked out, so he's not going to really feel too good walking out to the cage. He's going to have some butterflies, whereas Barberena ain't going to have much butterflies, man. That guy's been in there with the best of them in the division, and he knows what he brings to the table. And he's going out there to get a victory. So taking Bryan Barberena to win that fight. And, you know, this was the match he was supposed to win it too, man. Anthony Ivy was a big favorite here. This is Christian Aguilera. This guy throws heat, man. I'm telling you. This guy throws heat. Those knuckles will put you out. All right. Moving on to the next fight, we got Billy Quarantillo. Big shout out to Billy taking on Kyle Nelson. Billy is a guy that's came through for us in his last fight on a solid play against the ginger, the alpha ginger. Talk about that fight here in a minute. Kyle Nelson, an extremely tough dude, coming in with the 1-inch height advantage, the 1-inch reach advantage. Kyle Nelson, in my opinion, is an underrated type of fighter. He just has that plain Jane type of name, and you know, has that plain look. But this is a guy, you know, from Canada. He has that plain little cross tattoo. But this guy's tough. He's tough, man. He can knock you out. So this isn't a guy you want to sleep on, in my opinion. Kyle Nelson, take a look at what he's been doing as of recently. Coming off a nasty knockout in his last fight. Pull that up here. Knocked out Marco Polo Reyes, who's been on the downslide, but still, the way he went out there and knocked him out early. You know, Polo Reyes can be dangerous in the feet as well. Look, I like the way Kyle looked in that fight. You know, then the other two losses, the Matt Sales fight, he was keeping that competitive. They get choked out at the end, but you know, still, you could see how and why he's a dangerous fighter. Diego Ferreira, one of the most underrated fighters in the division, so no real shame in that. And he still had spots in that fight, man, where you could see he's a talented fighter too. So it wasn't like, you know, he's just a scrub. If you run the tape back, you could see what skills he brings to the table. This is him knocking out Marco Polo Reyes, man. He was just, you see, he has pop in his hands. I'm telling you guys. Now Billy Q, this was Billy Q against the Alpha Ginger, man, where he came through and brought the money home, where he showed how well-rounded he is, man. His grappling is very solid. His striking is very solid. An extremely well-rounded fighter is Billy Quarantillo. And take a look at what Billy Q's been doing as of recently. 14-2. He's on a 7-fight win streak. Lost to Michelle Quiones back in the day. Saul Rogers, a stud of a fighter. That was on the Ultimate Fighter. I believe that might have been to get in the house, or that might have been on the Ultimate Fighter. That was probably England versus America back in the day, way back in the day. Yeah, Saul Rogers. That guy, you know, he had always had visa issues. He could never fight in the UFC. He always had something going on. But Saul Rogers is a tough dude who's still throwing down. So, you know, Billy Q, you know, he goes in there, man. He's a competitor. This guy wins fights. And not only does he win fights, man, he finishes fights too. So, let's take a look at the line here, guys. Billy Q is a minus 255. Another line that, you know, maybe I'm a little surprised as high as these lines are getting, but understandable at the same time, because Billy Q, I do pick him to win this fight. I think he's just a little bit better everywhere the fight goes, a little bit more composed. But Kyle Nelson can shut your lights off, and you gotta be careful for something like that. But I'm taking Billy Q to win the fight. So yeah, Billy Quarantillo, man. Another interesting fight, man. Coming up next, Frank Camacho taking on Brok Weaver. And I'll tell you why this fight's interesting, right? Frank Camacho is a guy that came into his last fight as a big favorite and got knocked out in a nasty way against a guy that made his debut in Justine James, who has since shown that he's still continuously a dangerous fighter. Even though he lost his last fight, the guy is definitely dangerous. It was a very competitive fight. You know, off the top of my head, that was against Justine James. It was I try to remember all this stuff, guys, but sometimes I gotta just get a little quick sneak peek back too, because now I kind of want to know. But it was against Gavin Tucker. Yeah, Gavin Tucker. That fight was very competitive up until the end when he got finished. But you know, back and forth. Justine James hurt him on the feet as well. This guy Justin is a dangerous fighter, so you know, I do believe that Frank Camacho got a little bit too relaxed in there, man. He was a big favorite. You know, sometimes he likes to just sit in the pocket and exchange, and I think it's starting to catch up with him. We've seen him in some wars, right? You know, against the Damian Brown fight was ridiculous. You saw him go to a war with Damian Brown there. Jeff Neal finished him. Beneil Dariush finished him. Justine James finished him. You know, he's a guy that's not really that scared to throw down, and he ends up paying a lot of times because of that. Brok Weaver, on the other hand, I don't really see Brok Weaver being that much of a threat as far as hitting him with that one-shot kill. Brok Weaver is a guy that, you know, at least if you saw him in the Devin Smith fight where he got the contract, you know, he can control you up against the octagon. He pushes a solid pace. You know, he has good cardio and, you know, throws a little pitter-patter. He'll clinch you, and he can mix it up as well. He'll throw some knees and throw some kicks at you and stuff. But, you know, not the most dangerous fighter as far as stopping the fight with one shot, in my opinion. But Frank Camacho has taken a lot of damage, and I wouldn't be shocked if Frank gets knocked out again. The guy's taken a lot of damage. This was a cool fight here, man. If you remember back in the day, Brok Weaver fought Joe Riggs over, I think that was in BKFC. Yep, BKFC. That was pretty interesting to see. I'm a big Joe Riggs fan. Shout out to everyone who knows about Joe Riggs, old school stuff. But Nick Diaz. Speaking of Nick Diaz making his return, Nick Diaz lost to Riggs and was brawling with him in the hospital, pulling out IVs. Blood was squirting everywhere. It's a cool story if you haven't heard that one. But Joe, that was a cool little bare knuckle boxing event he had with Joe Riggs. Went on a 4-fight win streak. Devin Smith is the godson, I think, to Rashad Evans or something like that. You know, he brushed his shoulders with the best of them, and he's a very tough wrestler. And Brok Weaver went in there and spoiled the party. Made his debut in the UFC and really got outclassed by Rodrigo Vargas. Rodrigo Vargas just hit him with that illegal knee. So that was a loss right there, in my opinion, the way he was losing that fight. So, and then Roosevelt Roberts went out there and finished him pretty easily. So I don't know how high I am on Brok Weaver, to be quite honest with you guys. But I did talk about, you know, the issues with Camacho's chin. So I did tell you guys about that. And about how relaxed he is when he fights in there. Coming in as right around a minus 225. So money has been coming in on Weaver. Opened up as a minus 260. And I am going to take Camacho to win this fight. I think if Camacho doesn't get knocked out, I think that he wins this fight. I think he can avoid being controlled on the cage. And I think that this will be more of an entertaining fight where Camacho will edge it as long as he doesn't get slept. So I'm taking Frank Camacho to win the fight. And Camacho looked good as far physically. He looked good going into that last fight, even though he got knocked out, you know, by Justine James, as you see here. Man, James was putting it on him on the feet. He was out on his feet, so he ate a lot of shots even after he was out on his feet. And so it was a tough one to watch for if you're a Camacho fan. He got beat up pretty bad there. And this was the fight I was talking about. Devin Smith and Brok Weaver, where Brok Weaver was able to control that fight with kicks and controlling him against the cage. You know, you see the crowd in the background at Dana White's Contender Series. Boy, do I miss that. And speaking of Dana White's Contender Series, we have an event coming up tomorrow night. I'll try to get that video out to you guys ASAP. Hopefully I can get it done. Like I said, I got some personal things going on, so I can't guarantee it this week. But Brok Weaver, man, he has the look, the personality, man. If you guys don't know about his personality, he was coming out yelling, man. This guy's a Native American Indian. He's a wild dude. Comes off the reservation, and he's an entertaining guy. So, I'm interested to see how this fight goes down. But I'm going to go with Frank Camacho. Looks like Tapology is adjusting the fight schedule here, so I'm gonna be bouncing around. Yeah, they just made an adjustment as I'm filming this for you guys. So let's see who we initially. So the order of these fights may play out a little bit differently by the time Saturday hits because they've been moving them. But in the next fight, we're gonna be talking about Matt Schnell taking on Tyson Nam, and Matt Schnell, big fan of this guy. I'll tell you guys a crazy story, and if you guys don't believe me, you can watch. You guys can watch my MMA live discussion, man. So I got Matt Schnell on the show, and we're talking about how he grew up in Louisiana, and crazy story, man. So I talk about his upbringing and whatnot. And next thing you know, he talks about his parents got divorced, and that he also spent time in South Florida. Says he grew up he used to visit and live for a little bit in Coral Springs. Coral Springs is a place I lived for the majority of my life here in South Florida. And it's crazy because then he goes, I went to middle school down there. I'm like, well, what middle school did you go to? He ends up going to the same middle school that I went to, Forest Glen. He was a year younger than me, so he was there while I was there. And then he starts asking me if I know certain people. I didn't know them at the time. I still don't really know them, but it's bringing back memories. So I asked a couple buddies of mine. Next thing you know, one of my best friends, he knows exactly who he's talking about, who was his next door neighbor. And, crazy stories too. I want to ask him. I'm going to reach out to him again and ask him because in the neighborhood that I think his dad lived in, it's crazy. I got crazy stories, man. Back in the old school American Top Team, there was a kid that lived in that neighborhood that I'm assuming he probably knows, this kid Hunter. And this kid was, he's training in American Top Team back in the day. And one of these kids that was from the neighborhood who was more of a street fighter type of kid, they had a beef, and they actually let us all go into the old American Top Team, man. Meet my boy and all of us, and then his boy, his dad, and all the gym guys. They all knew each other. They let us all go in. They shut the gym down, or nobody was there in the day. Went right after school, and they let them square off in the ring, man, and have a boxing match. It was crazy. So I gotta ask him if he was there. I don't know if he was there at the time. This was more towards high school, but still, I guarantee you he knew this kid because this kid was a fighter back then. I don't know if he was fighting back then, but they lived in the same neighborhood, it seems like. So whatever, just crazy. It's a crazy small world, man. To think what the odds of that are. How many middle schools and how many places in the country. The fact that he was living right over there, but an extremely cool dude. I was doing some research on him leading up to the interview, and I remembered I used to watch this guy a little bit on that show on MTV, Caged. He was on that show, Caged. And Matt Schnell is he's a cool dude. If you guys haven't checked out the interview, make sure you check it out. And Matt Schnell is coming, man. He's coming. This is a guy that's extremely well-rounded. And, a lot of submissions on his resume. And is coming off, a loss against Alexandra Pantoja, but that's okay. And Pantoja is a very skilled fighter. He has to bounce back in the win column here against Tyson. Tyson Nam is a guy that's never been submitted, so keep that in mind. Tyson Nam is a guy that's never been submitted, and Tyson Nam has been shown that he's dangerous on the feet. Obviously, we saw that in his last fight. He knocked out, a stud kickboxer, even though that guy Adeshev came in way overweight. Fight was on short notice, I believe. But Nam, Nam is a guy that can put your lights out. So, being the fact that Schnell is coming off a knockout loss, he does have to be careful for that. But I think Matt Schnell is the better overall, the more well-rounded mixed martial artist here, and I would love to see Schnell pull off a submission, man. I'm pulling for that sub. Like I said, Nam has never been submitted. You take a look at any of his losses, never been submitted. As far as on the feet, Sergio Pettis basically broke a record in that fight, I believe, as far as significant strikes landed. I had a major parlay with Sergio and somebody else. I made some big money on that fight, and you got to look into that too, man. His defense looked horrible in that fight, but came back. He looked tough against Kai Car France, even though he lost that, and then obviously looked good in that last fight. I'm taking Schnell here. Schnell is a slight dog here, pretty much a pick'em, right around plus 105 or even money. And I think my boy Schnell gets it done. I just think that Schnell is a guy that can strike with you. He can grapple. This guy's a very well-rounded fighter, and he's hitting his prime. 30 years old. I believe for this fight camp, he's been training over in Texas. Even though it says American Top Team here, he's been training over in Texas. I think over outside of Houston, I believe it was one of those big fight camps. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's the big fight camp out there right now. Slipping my mind. Either way, you guys know what I'm talking about. Or I'll comment it below after. But it's pretty much the number one fight camp over in Texas. A lot of guys are coming out of right now. So he's been getting some really good training going into this fight. So I'm pulling for Schnell big time, and I'm looking for that submission, Schnell. So we want to see that, man. Sub this dude, man. Put him in a rear naked choke, man, or catch him in something crazy. And again, thanks for coming on the show as well, man. It was good chatting with you. So gotta go with Schnell there all day. So in the next fight, we got Alan Patrick taking on Bobby King Green. Alan Patrick, 5'11", 74-inch reach, coming with a 3-inch reach advantage. He's a rangy guy for the lightweight division. Bobby Green, in my opinion, a very, very well-rounded fighter. He could wrestle. He has underrated wrestling. He's very unorthodox in the feet. He's very relaxed in there and very funky, and has some good boxing. And I did have a parlay with him in his last fight against Clay Guida. He came through in a nice way, and I think that this fight, I'm going to talk about the line here for a second, because if you take a look at the line, Bobby Green's coming in at almost a minus 250. Some books. I think that line's off, in my opinion. I don't know how I feel about that necessarily. So I want to first bring that up. I do like Bobby Green to win this fight, but I think Alan Patrick is a guy that's very dangerous. He's gone in there and he's taken dudes out, some solid UFC fighters out before. He is 37 years old, but he's a black belt in BJJ. This guy has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This guy can strike with you. You see him take out Damian Brown, Stevie Ray, Demir Hasnovic, John McDessie. Who else has he taken out? Thought he had a fight with somebody else, but Garrett Whitley, decent fighter as well. You take a look at his two losses: Scott Holtzman and Maribek Tysomov, who looked amazing. Maribek. Yeah, Maribek. This guy is a savage. Maribek, just a nasty striker. So no shame ever losing to that guy. Scott Holtzman, extremely tough as well. And I just wouldn't be surprised if Patrick brings the fight to Bobby Green and it ends up being a super close fight. Bobby Green has made a living. Win, lose, or that's it. You can't even say draw. Win or lose in these split decision fights. That's what Bobby Green does. He's just always involved in those types of fights. So you take a look at let's see. I mean, a lot of them have been losses actually. Well, you got the split decision draw against Lando, split decision loss against Rashid. Split decision win against Josh Thompson. I mean, his fights play out closely. I'm telling you guys right now. So if you're grabbing him at that line, don't just expect him to go out there and just think that he's going to dominate. Take a look at Patrick. Like I said, a black belt in BJJ, a guy that can also strike, and a guy whose teeth are a lot more white right now than they used to be. So you got to be careful, man. When a guy's coming out with his teeth whitening like that, he's going to get the knockout. I'm just messing with you guys. But, his teeth is good. He's cleaning his teeth up right there. Hollywood smiles. Playing a little bit of fetch. What's going on right there, man? Is he playing fetch? Is that the new that's the new type of training that they do, man? The Brazilians are figuring stuff out, man. They're a step ahead of us, man. They were training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu way before us. And as you guys know, that's one of the staples as far as being productive in mixed martial arts. And now, one of these new types of trainings they do, you got to play fetch. I don't know what's going on there, but let's take a look at him putting in some work with the ground and pound. He's a dangerous dude. Man. Don't get it twisted. This guy can strike. This guy has good jiu-jitsu. He's big. and he's a threat. He's a threat to a guy like Bobby Green, in my opinion. So the line is off. I'm taking Bobby Green to win that fight, though. Yeah, I got to go up with Bobby there. And that was Bobby in the Clay Guida fight, where he looked good in that fight, But again, he probably let that fight go a little bit closer than it needed to go as well. He let Clay Guida hang close in a couple of those rounds. So again, the fight probably will play out closely. I'm telling you guys. All right. Won't go on too much longer about the fetch and all that. In the next fight, we got Ed Herman taking on Mike Slow Rodriguez. Mike Slow Rodriguez was just in there, looked really good. Finished Prachnio with that elbow in the clinch. Ed Herman, we're going to talk more about him in a minute, but Ed Herman is a guy that's almost 40 years old, about to be 40 in a couple weeks. And a guy that's been around forever, but a guy that has a lot more experience than Mike Rodriguez. So that you want to take that into consideration here. Mike Rodriguez, he's coming in as a big favorite here. I mean, another line right around that minus 250 range that you got to be careful with, though. Mike Rodriguez is a guy that definitely has that knockout power. We saw him on Dana White's Contender Series. We saw him the other week get that knockout. He's dangerous in the clinch. He's humongous. 82.5-inch reach. Not a lot of guys can say that. Matter of fact, I couldn't tell you many guys that can in the UFC. John Jones is out there. Who else? Brock Lesnar. Not a lot of guys with reach like that. So if you know any other guys that have reaches like that, comment below. Ed Herman coming with the 75-inch reach. He's going to be 7.5 inches shorter with the reach, 3 inches shorter with the height. But Ed Herman's going to have a lot more experience, like I said. Ed Herman is a guy... he was always a solid middleweight fighter, training with Team Quest for years, one of the most solid gyms from back in the day. And so this guy is so crafty in there, coming off 2 victories and 2 fights that were very entertaining where he brought the fight, man. And, I was picking him in some of these fights too as a dog, man, against Cummings. And I always talk about this when I talk about Ed Herman. Nowadays, fighting in the light heavyweight division, he really shouldn't be fighting there. This is how he should look. He should be fighting at the middleweight division. But, he keeps delivering these entertaining fights, so the UFC is letting him stay up there. And I guess he didn't feel like doing the weight cut and whatnot. And his fights continuously are entertaining. So it is what it is. This is a perfect matchup here. This fight was put together, very recently, so these guys didn't have a lot of time to plan for this fight. But been trying to fight all year. This is 3 camps in 6 months. That's true, man. This fight was canceled, the Alon fight, and he's just trying to get it in. So it's a perfect spot for him to jump in there. And if he could show that he's the more experienced, more savvy, fighter who has better fighter IQ, man, it would be a cool thing to see. And I don't think it's that far fetched either. I think that it's very realistic that he comes out there and spoils the party. Like I said, though, Mike Rodriguez is dangerous. He's a dangerous fighter. So it's going to take one shot from Mike Rodriguez in the clinch or something, even a rangy straight, that's going to hurt Ed Herman. I would not be surprised in the least bit, but I would not also be surprised if Ed Herman uses his craftiness and his toughness to avoid that big shot and to use his grappling and his dirty Muay Thai or dirty clinch work that he likes to use, and wouldn't be surprised in the least bit. Another line that you guys are going to want to be careful about. I'm telling you guys are going to want to be careful there. But I'm going to pick Mike Rodriguez. Stay tuned on my Instagram to make sure that the fight doesn't that I don't change my pick to Ed Herman. See how the fight week plays out. I want to see these guys at the weigh-ins and whatnot. So stay tuned. But Mike Rodriguez is dangerous, and he was just in there. All right, we got 2 fights left. So I see what happened. As I'm actually doing this breakdown, they just threw Khama Worthy and Ottman Azatar up to the co-main event spot. So good for Khama, man. Shout out to Khama. I already broke down this fight, but that's a co-main event spot there. So now we got, I thought that was kind of weird that they had Andrea Lee initially as the co-main event. And now we got Andrea Lee taking on Roxanne Modafferi. Andrea Lee, a girl that... it was tough for her, man. It was very tough to watch her against Lauren Murphy. That was a fight that she won, and they they snatched that fight from her. Split decision loss. You know, she did win that fight. The Joanne Calderwood fight, that she did lose that fight. I thought it was very close. Another split loss. So that's tough, man. 2 split losses. Those were 2 fights that she was going into as a big favorite. I know she cost a lot of you guys money. Don't act like she didn't. And now we're gonna see if she can go out there and not be upsetted again against Roxanne Modafferi, a girl that's made a living off upsetting fighters, man. You know, look at that's Macy Barber. You know, getting upset by Roxanne Modafferi, one of the biggest upsets we've ever seen. And we saw Roxanne Modafferi do that against Antonina Shevchenko. Roxanne is a very strong girl. If you watch her on Instagram and you see her training regimen, she's very strong. She's stronger than a lot of these girls. And she's been grappling for a long time. When she gets a hold of them, she rips them down. But she's so wobbly on the feet, man. You just touch her and she's doing the chicken dance left and right. And she's so awkward and funky. And she's a girl that I typically do not like to have money on. I like to fade her more than I'll back her. And I would probably rather fade her here, even though I do say she can spoil the party. Andrea Lee's at -320. You know, maybe she just hangs on her, and you know how she does it. Gets a little bit some takedowns, and she steals a fight. Andrea KGB Lee. Former LFA champ. And a girl that is very skilled in the clinch, man. She's very skilled in the clinch. She could throw some knees there, man. But she has some flaws in her game. And I'll tell you what. You know, when you watch her fight as of recently, man, she starts to like kind of slow down. If you watch her in the later rounds, it looks like she kind of faded in some of those fights. Tell you some of those fights I'm talking about. Definitely the Calderwood fight. The Calderwood fight, if she would have just stepped on the gas a little bit, she could have took that fight and solidified that fight. She slowed down in that fight. And the Lauren Murphy fight too. She looks like she has these mental lapses in there, man, where all of a sudden you're watching her and she's just getting tagged, you know, right in her face, and she's like freezing up and she's looking slow. She can really frustrate you, man, when you have money on her. So be careful. I'm telling you guys, be careful there. But I definitely got to pick her here. Like I said, I'm gonna fade Roxanne before I'm gonna pick her. So Andrea KGB to win this fight. All right, we made it to the main event. The main event, we got Michelle Waterson taking on Angela Overkill Hill. These girls bring it. I think that they're deserving of a big fight here. I don't know about a main event spot, but nevertheless, here we are. And Angela Hill, obviously, the UFC treating her as if she won that last fight, because she did win her last fight against Claudia Gadelha. Judges robbed her. She should be 13-7. And Michelle Waterson looked good in her last fight at times against Carla Esparza, but couldn't consistently stuff that takedown. She got, she did pretty much stuff it. I would say maybe consistently. She did good stuffing the takedowns, even though she did get taken down a time or two. Really, what cost her in that fight was she started backpedaling a little bit, and Esparza started to put it on her a little bit with the boxing, with the flurries, you know, throwing some boxing things at her. I think that's where Angela Hill is going to give her problems, because Angela Hill, his striking has been looking amazing. It's been getting better and better. And as far as her MMA career goes, she's just been getting better and better, and she's really coming into her prime just now at the age of almost 35. Angela Hill, she got in the game late. You guys remember her from the Ultimate Fighter show. She was one of the girls way back in the day on that show, who she barely had any professional fights, and the UFC gave her a shot there, and they've let her grown up in the UFC. She kind of reminds me of like an Alex Caceres or Bruce Leroy, you know. Both these people, they grew up in the octagon, and they're hitting their primes now. They both look very good. And Angela Overkill Hill, man, her takedown defense is good, and if you sit there and you strike with her, even if you beat her, it's going to be a really close fight. A girl that loses splits and whatnot like that as well. So this was the fight. It looks like Michelle Waterson was pretty surprised she lost. I don't know why she was surprised. I thought Carla won it definitively. I did have a solid play on Carla there. I made some money, so I was happy to see that at the time. But I thought that the Karate Hottie looked good at times in that fight with her leg kicks and her little the knee strike where she tries to hyperextend the knee. She has good footwork. She's dangerous on the feet. I think this fight has all the makings to be an entertaining fight. I think for the most part it should be a stand-up match, and I think it'll be a very entertaining fight. I gotta take Angela Hill here. Angela Hill, with the 2.5-inch reach, and just her striking's been looking good. And I'm going to take her. Although I'm probably pulling for Michelle Waterson. I like the karate hottie. I'm a fan of hers. But if I'm keeping it real, I gotta pick Angela Hill to win that fight. All right. So that's gonna wrap up the show. I apologize. I'm getting these breakdowns to you guys out, them out to you a little bit delayed. Like I said, man, I've been having some stuff going on over here on my side, and it's gonna all be cleaned up, and hopefully I'll be able to get this Dana White's Contender Series episode out to you guys tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. There's always some opportunities to make money on these Dana White's Contender Series shows throughout the season. So if there's a spot, I'll be looking for it. I've been kind of dissecting tape here earlier today, and I want to dissect some more tape here to end my night filming this right now. It's Monday night, almost 10 o'clock p.m., but I'm going to watch some fights on these guys for about an hour or two before I call it a night. Tomorrow, some of my spare time, I'm going to jump early in the morning, watch some more fight tape, and then I'm going to put the video out to you guys. So that's what we got in the resume. Getting the recipe here. MMA live discussion. I got 6 fighters in talks. You guys are gonna enjoy who's gonna be on the show. The fight companion. I wasn't able to do it last Saturday. Coming off that beautiful, profitable night with the dog play and then the main event play, I wasn't able to do it. I told you guys kind of what was going on, and then hopefully I'll be able to do it this upcoming Saturday if there's just something that's going on right now. If you guys catch my drift, so it's hard to say how that's gonna play out. And yeah, I hope we do a fight companion. But other than that, the fight companion is going down 100% for the Colby Covington Tyrone Woodley fight. For that event, it's going to be going down 100%. Everything will be running smoothly by then, and that pretty much sums up everything we got going on here. So, with that being said, keep an eye out tomorrow for the breakdown of that, and I'll see you guys Thursday. All right, you guys all have an excellent night. Appreciate all you guys' support. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't. Check me out on Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _ and the Twitter is being constructed right now, the MMA Teller, and cleaning all that up, and you're going to be seeing regular posts from me there. So just be patient with me. I told you guys I'm cleaning that whole thing up. And all right, guys, there's only one thing we could do. You know what it is. Signing out, the Teller.
The MMA Fortune Teller.
The teller.